presenters that we got. So let me do that while we've got a moment. So CASSIE KRAMER is going to share with us next year a little bit about breaking into that higher end pool, okay? And what we need to be doing to be in communication with those individuals to go ahead and really develop some mind share, or build mind share. And then we've got Will Klein is going to share with us the power of listings, as he's had a pretty big month with it, and just kind of find out how that's treating him in his business. And then we're going to have a quick break. Trevor's going to share with us a little bit about what's going on with Costco and how they can help you with your business. And then we're going to dive into the second half of the day. We've got Kelly Hager's going to share with us basically how putting the right people around you has helped her business and created a lot of leverage for her. And then Mark Keller is going to share with us some key areas that we need to focus on to take that productivity, so that X amount of dollars in production that we're doing, and making sure that our profitability is congruent with that. So remember, guys, it's not about what you make, it's about what you take home, right? So I think Mark's one of the experts of that. And then I'll be happy to share with you what I've seen across the nation as 5 very specific things that top agents are doing to have a pretty killer second half. Sound pretty good? All right, well, let's keep rolling. Ms. Cassie, come on up. We'll give her an applause.
Okay.
All right, cool. So Cassie, tell me a little bit about yourself. What did you do before real estate?
A lot in retail. My degree and everything's in marketing and merchandising. So a ton of different companies that I work for, which helps with sales and that marketing background. I enjoy that immensely, and that has helped a lot with what I've been focused on for this year, certainly.
Okay.
But worked for a couple of companies and decided once I had my son, that's when I kind of decided to transfer over to real estate. I didn't really like working Mother's Day, so I wanted to do something where I could have a little bit more control over that, and your potential is greater. So at retail, you kind of cap out, something that I can have more flexibility with. My father-in-law pressured me for a couple of years, and finally I crossed over.
So when did you start embarking in the real estate world?
In 2010, and 2 years ago, right now.
Almost exactly 2 years ago, right?
Yes, this is where in this room I met Mark Keller in Kennedy West.
Oh, yeah. Very fun. Okay, so in 2 years, can I give this people, what does your business kind of look like?
The first year was good. It was just a lot of volume. It was like, oh yeah, this
About
we did about 22 to 25 transactions, is what I was involved in last year. So it's great. And having, I think one of the original meetings I had with you, we had talked about whether I was going to be an individual agent versus joining a team. I think being on a team has helped that. There's no way I could have handled the stress or, it seemed like every single transaction presented new obstacles, new challenges, which it still does, but some days you feel like banging your head against the wall because you're trying to get things together. So having a team helps bounce those ideas, helps keep you focused and pushing forward. And even if you're not on a team, it's having other people in the office. I think that we all use that, other people in the office, to try and remotivate us and refocus us.
That's great. Okay. Now, I know we spoke a short while ago, and you were telling me about some of the successes that you were having in volume up. Huh?
Volume up, yeah.
Sorry.
We've got outdoor voice.
So you were telling me, I'll get further voice.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
So basically, you're telling me you're having some success in the higher end market. You're focusing on that, and you're building that production model up. So kind of give me the scoop. What's working for you there?
So last year, I did a lot of that, 100, 150,000, and I really wanted to push that, just get more bang for your buck or whatever. I have some experience with construction, with new construction, so utilizing that, it was kind of just a refocus for this year. What do I want my goals to be? So started really focusing with open houses and doing them in a certain target market. So taking that, again, pulling from that retail sales background and saying, okay, what do I want my target market to be? And that, I think, for any of us, you have to say, what are you comfortable with and what are your goals? So for me, I knew what I had background experience in, and I knew was a plan for where I wanted to be. So started really honing in on a certain area and a certain price point, And you know, you go and do open houses in that 300 and up range, you're going to meet people in that market. So what's tough about that is that, you know, you get into that market, a lot of people have either already are working with agents or they have a house on the market that they need to sell. Well, just because they have a house on the market doesn't mean that they have a buyer's agency agreement with that current person they're listed with. So it still doesn't mean that they're.
Have you closed any buyers like in that capacity where they had it listed?
I'm working on one right now. So, you know, and you know, like for that scenario, so we got a hold of that listing agent and asked permission to hold their house open. And so we're doing a service to her and, you know, to them. So it worked. It's
a win-win.
Win-win for everybody. Yeah.
So give me a little bit more specifics. I mean, like, you know, I think you've done a really good job of really being purposeful about your open houses. I mean, to the point where, I mean, you could probably write a book on it. So what are some things that you're looking for that meets your criteria that helps you kind of get further into that?
Right. So you can't, you know, I love open houses. I've always been a huge proponent of them. But I find if you're bouncing around, you don't get to know the area as well. So I found that, you know, a specific area, which here, you know, it depends on what price point and what you're really looking for. But here you can do a couple different zip codes and still end up getting people that are all basically looking in the same area. So now I've got people that all go to church together, like they don't know each other, and I have to be really careful not to tell that all these people are looking for houses, but they're basically it all ends up being the same people somehow. Well, because it's so concentrated, I guess. But you'll see people the same people at different open houses. You're going to see. You just get to know that better. I don't know. It's kind of like you're becoming the expert in that area. So instead of me going up to North O'Fallon or Troy, and I don't know the neighborhoods, I couldn't tell them what school districts, I couldn't have that information. Me being focused on one area lets me really be the expert. I really know what's going on. I know all the other houses for sale. I know ones that used to be on sale, ones that sold. I've shown them all before. So it really helps. It makes my job easier in a way by being focused.
So there's riches and niches there, right?
Yes.
So when you're saying area, what does that mean? Does it mean a neighborhood? Does it mean a zip code?
Well, so like 633, 68, 04 are big ones. I really probably stick to, you know, 68 and a little bit. I dip into a little bit of Lake St. Louis too, and then I will go over into that New Melly because that's a pretty people that want to be there really want to be there. But the open houses are harder there because you're a little bit more remote. So those high traffic areas, you don't want to be too deep into the subdivision. Not all houses are good open houses. You got to be just a couple turns.
Tell me more about that, because I think it's a really key point. You got to set yourself up for success. Right. I get a lot of agents that will come back in on Monday, like, I got nobody coming in, and they pick the worst house possible.
Right, right. So I very rarely am sitting there by myself. I mean, it's just because you've got to do ones that are in heavy traffic areas. You've really got to watch your signings. So, like I did one that was really close to Aberdeen, so I'm putting signs out. So it's not in Aberdeen, but I know that people leaving Aberdeen are going to see my signs when they leave. So making sure that they'll see and say, oh, there's another one down this way, because my neighborhood might not be as high traffic. So really take the time to think about where you put your signs, because for all the intents, like all the marketing that we do for the internet marketing for open houses, people still that are out driving on Sundays, people still do that.
Did you do a survey?
I use Open Home Pro, so I don't really bring any paperwork with me. I don't want them, if I give it to them, they're never going to have a reason to give me their information. So I have them log in and register. They get their phone number, email address. If we start talking about if they have a current house, they get their address, which really isn't as important. If you get their first and last name, you can look it up anyway. And, you know.
I was just wondering, what was your percentage of people that you get their information to come into the?
I get 95%. There's very rare that I don't get everything from people. But that's not, when people, I don't know if you want to get into open houses.
I mean,
so,
I would think so if you're getting 95%.
So, like, I don't pummel people when they come in. You know, I try and take a really low-key approach. But when they're in, I'm not really focused on the house that they're in, because that's pretty much irrelevant to me. It's more about them. And so with any of our marketing that we send out, we want to think, how is this going to benefit the client? If I'm thinking about how it's benefiting me, they're not going to care. So it's how it benefits the client, and that's asking more probing questions. It's not a yes or no question. You know, it's not, so you're looking for a house? Yes, that's why we're out at an open house. You know, it's like, oh, okay. So what kind of house are you looking for? What is it about this neighborhood that you like? You know, more conversational, and just be kind of be their friend, but also show that you're the expert. And so you kind of pop in every once in a, you know, I plug scripts. I don't, like, I know the scripts, but I can't, if I say it, it's the most uncomfortable, unnatural thing on God's earth. So I plug in parts of it and then throw out those little bits to them that will kind of pull them in and get them to ask me more questions. So, you know, you're gonna be talking about other houses. You always want to come prepared with other houses, other houses that are for sale in the area, because they're gonna go be looking at those anyway. So, you know, I don't know what else. I mean, you just talk with people just like you normally do. I mean, you just have conversations with them, and then you say, oh, by the way, I need you to register in, and yeah, I'll be happy to send you all that information.
So basically, I mean, just to kind of make this real clear, you know, it seems pretty basic is what you're doing. It's just you're asking open-ended questions. I would imagine you might have an arsenal of open-ended questions at this point that seem to work pretty well. I mean, would you mind sharing one or two of those? I mean, just
think about it.
Kind of role play.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, so I just walked in the door and I'm looking at the refrigerator. Wow. The big squirrel
The kitchen's
here.
right by the front door. That's great. No, sorry.
Awkward layout, but yeah.
You know, we'll roll with it. Yeah, I always, when people come in, I always say, take your time, look around. I say, grab me if you have any questions. I'll meet you in the kitchen before you leave. So then they always look around. Some of these bigger homes, they take a while. They could be there for.
Can I stop right there?
Yeah.
So basically, you're not hounding them right there and just shoving crap in front of them. You say, you go do your thing. I'm going to be out of your hair. Just meet me in the kitchen before you leave.
Before you leave, yeah. Not at the front dining room. I feel like that's a little too right there. Plus, that gives you time. It gives you time so that if you have somebody already in the house, then I can be talking with them while these other people are up looking around.
Right.
You know, and I get that commitment from them at the beginning that they are going to check out with me before they leave.
Great.
Then once they're the kitchen, people are most comfortable in the kitchen too. My husband's a chef, so everything, it's like everything's kitchen focused. That's just where people are cozy. So, you know, I'll have maybe some one or two flyers out on, not on the house necessarily, but on the area, and we just get to talking, you know, and if it's not my listing, I say this isn't my listing. I'm just here. I represent buyers primarily, and so I can you know, answer any questions you want. I'm not, you know, I'm here to help you with anything you feel about the house. Once you say something like that, it kind of they're always afraid to insult the house if they think you're the listing agent. And so once they say that, they're like, well, I can't stand these cabinets or this or that. So it kind of breaks that barrier down. And then you just kind of go from there. I don't know. I mean, it's very conversational. So it really, I play off of whatever they're saying. So if they want to focus more on the market, I'm ready to go with stats and information too.
So when you present, hey, here's my open house pro is what you use too, right? That's an app.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. For your iPad and that
right.
sort of thing. So when you basically kind of, you know, push the iPad
towards the end, I just say, oh, by the way, before I forget, I need you to register in just a couple quick questions, no big deal, and make sure you put your email address down so I can send you all this information we talked about today. And I'd say it real fast and real simple, and
that's great. So and that information might be different for each person, you know, but you're already planting that seed when you're in conversation.
Right. And we, because like if they have a house for sale, then I can say, well, we have a really great market value report that I can send you, so you know that would be great. Well, I don't ask for their address necessarily right at that point. I ask for it after they've registered, so that, you know, not like they don't feel like I'm pummeling them.
Right. So say fast one more time.
Say what?
Say what you say fast normally. I need you to register what?
I need you to register in and just your email address so I can send you that information. I say it real fast and real quiet, so they have to listen really closely, right, Mark? That way.
And just your email address.
Well, but the Open Home Pro prompts you for everything else. So once they're in there, that's what's really nice about that. That also is better than like the paper. People get really timid to write things that they feel like they're signing a contract. With that program, it prompts them for their phone number and the email address, and then it asks them about 4 questions. And then it also sends them an email immediately after the open house is ended, thanking them for coming. So, you know, it kind of, it's like I can't forget to communicate with them because it sends it to them automatically.
So I think those are great insights there as far as, you know, they feel like they're writing a contract that one might maybe have some defenses on. Let me wrap up a little bit, some time on the getting into that more affluent market. So first of all, what I hear you doing is just focusing in on an area. And then you're bringing all of your resources to that area.
Right.
And so in this situation, you're having a lot of success with open houses, so you're focusing on open houses in that area,
Right.
right?
Yes, which can be timed. I think we talked about this last week, that it's hard to stay focused on that for a long period of time because you want to, you know, there was a point where I thought, this is ridiculous, it's not working, I'm spinning my wheels, I've been working so hard on this, this is what I'm focused on, and it just isn't working, I'm gonna have to change. That week, I had 2 people call back from those open houses, wanting to go ahead and start working on looking for a house. And I just remember sitting there with my husband thinking, okay, this is working, I'm doing something right, thank God, you know. So that totally, sometimes you need those moments of clarity and like, okay, this is okay, it'll be okay. And now I've got more buyer's agencies, and I know
You've got a tidal wave of activity now.
well, that will come. And so that bigger market, it's not like they're going to go out and just buy a house tomorrow. I mean, that's a 6-month, 9-month out. It's really that they're waiting for that perfect house for them or waiting for their home to sell. So you have to have patience with it. But they're all under buyer's agencies. I stay in touch with all of them.
So, I mean, I just got to share just what's running through my mind right now is that I get a lot of people, this is probably the #1 question that comes across that people are just totally stumped by. And I think it's one of those scenarios where life is simple, yet we insist on complicating it. And it's how do I get my dollar per unit to go up? And you're just being real good about being simple. You're saying, look, I'm focusing in on an area where the dollar per unit is higher than where it was beforehand, and then you're bringing your resource. I mean, is open houses, is that a brand new idea? No, but you're marrying the 2 together, and you're focusing in on it, and you're spending your time and your resources there. And that's what I think the brilliant part is. You know, so I think that, and you know what, and that's the response everybody gets. It's like, well, I mean, like, well, I'll tell you what, when you have 8 or 10, you know, buyers that you're working with, that are $300,000 plus, I'd say that's pretty good use of time, right?
Yeah, you know, and that it is a daily, it's different. And some people I don't hear, like, I had one today that I've been working with, I don't even know how long I've been working with her. I met her in an old listing like a year ago, and they were going to buy, and then they decided to hold up because they were going to buy at $300,000, and now she just decided that they're going to buy like $600,000, so they want to wait a little longer. So I brought the buyer's agency agreement with me one day, but she had her 3 kids with her, and it was like super crazy. She emailed me today and asked for it. She reminded me about it.
When was the last time you had a buyer?
I mean, but it's making those connect, like staying in touch with them.
Perfect segue. All right, perfect segue. So, you know, in its very basic format, you've now met these individuals.
Right.
Okay? So you've got them in your Met database. So for all of you guys out there, you know, this would be a great thing to go ahead and get them in your Met database from open houses, or they could be considered now your sphere of influence. You now influence these people. So I'm going to kind of go from that approach so it relates to everybody in this room. So what are you doing with your Met or sphere of influence? What are you doing with that database? Because I think you do a phenomenal job of sticking with them. You know, because like you said, it takes a long time for these particular kind of buyers to go ahead and pull the trigger. So what are you doing to buy the mind share and not be that pest?
Well, you can't, some of them I don't put in 33 touch or 8x8 because that is very branded. I think if you're real with people, that will go a lot further. Now, once I have like a pretty, you know, or once I have that buyer's agency, then I think I'm okay to go ahead and put them on that. I just don't want to hassle them. I want them to know that anything coming from me is something of value for them. So but that takes you being an expert in your field and going out and meeting with new construction people. That's, you know, being aware of what upcoming lots are going to be on, new developments. So me going out and doing that research, then that gives me something to send them. And another point to contact them. So maybe it's been a month, thinking, what am I going to talk to this person about? I know they're just kind of sitting out there, but I don't want them to forget about me. So having that, you know, a new complex that's coming up will help.
What I hear you say is that with each person that you're in a relationship with, you're creating a reason to go ahead and be in touch with them.
Right.
By coming from contribution.
Because it's not the same as a first-time home buyer. I mean, they're very quick. It's very, you know, you do your consultations with them. These people, you're looking at a little bit higher maintenance. And so you really want to structure what you're doing to fit them, to fit their lives. And so you've got to build that relationship and get to know them. Not that we don't do that with all of our clients, but this is over the long haul. You got to remember everything.
So that was my next question here. So as you got, the number of individuals that you're working with and that sort of thing, as that starts to increase, how do you keep track of that? I mean, what's that lead follow-up system look like for you? I mean,
I'm still working. I don't know. It's all up here in my brain, which is why I get a little spastic sometimes, as my team can attest to. Thank God for Jen having a buyer's. I call her my buyer's liaison, but
Therapist.
But she helps keep me straight sometimes, and it helps me because I'll come in and I go from one topic to the next, and I need to come up with a better system for that in all honesty. But I have a form where I track my conversations with people, so I'm making notes on it. Now I'm trying to use eEdge better for that. I really think that the way that it's set up, I can electronically hold everything. She can see it very easily, so it's not like my random notes that.
It sounds though like you're committing to at least that form. So what's on that form that is key?
Well, we have that's going to have which email did I send, because I've got some standardized emails. So which email did I send to them? So I'm making sure I'm not.
You guys catch that? I mean, so you're not retyping your email every single time to each one of these individuals. So you've got basically canned emails that I'm sure you're modifying.
Which we do for the
bit.
internet leads too, yeah.
Great,
right.
But you're modifying it a little bit
Right.
for each person. That's what.
Right.
All right, great. I love it.
I have a standard open house lead that I send, so everybody that I get from an open house, it's like, oh, it was nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Here's an example of what I do. So, I will either run it off of the house that I was at, or I'll just run it off. I've got another house that I sold in a neighborhood that I got the best price per square foot in that neighborhood. So I send them the stats on that and all the market research for that I did beforehand for that buyer, and say, this is what we did, this is what we always do for our clients, and showing them a little bit more what I do.
So guys, I mean, basically she's showing the benefit evidence there. She's saying this is what I've done with other buyers, and this is, if by working with me, these things should translate to working with you. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So what, like, do you give them like all the counts and stuff like that you give the buyer, or like?
For that, I like doing it for that particular house, because it's already done. Like, I just copy and paste that email.
Okay.
I'm not redoing it every single time. But, if somebody really showed interest in the house they were in, because open house buyers normally aren't that interested in the house they're in, so it's really irrelevant to send them that information.
And it looks like maybe you're selling that house too.
Right. So I just say, here's an example, and it's so fast that way. Once, if I were to try and recreate everything, then I can't keep track of what I'm doing. So having that list, I say, okay, I sent out that initial email, and then I'll, here's email 2, and then from that point, hopefully by email 2, or phone call or whatever it is, then it gets much more customized to what their needs are. But still tracking that.
That's excellent. Do you guys have any questions on some of those things? I think there's some interesting points there. Sue, great.
Are you doing any Saturday open houses, or maybe 2 on Sunday?
I have done 2 on Sundays before, and I have done Saturdays. Saturdays are okay. Again, I think it's going to play to consistency. So if you're going to do Saturdays, you're going to do them all the time. Because you're going to go one Saturday and you're going to feel like, oh, it's a dud. But if you do them all the time, then you're going to see that play over time. For family reasons, I try not to do Saturdays, but or I'm showing property, But Sundays I do 2. That's a crazy day, and it's a lot, because sometimes you'll do 2, and then if I picked up one earlier, they might want to go look at houses afterwards. So it's just a busy Sunday. But yeah, I think that works. I think there's even like the 4 to 6 time slot. There are still people. I'll look at a house with 4 to 6. I can't during the summer months. It's great. So that's still. So if you can't.
So you're talking about 4 to 6, like even on a Sunday?
Yes, on a Sunday night. Yeah, I was shocked, but there they all were. So.
Are you consistent with that time frame?
No, I really prefer 1 to 3, in all honesty. But if I do 1 to 3, I can't do 2 really that well,
So if you're focusing on a price range and a basic location,
Right.
Are you daily checking every single new listing that comes up and running and previewing?
I should be.
Because when you're
not-
doing your open houses, then that's one of the things
Right.
that you can say yesterday on the market, or.
Yes, and so I I'm probably not as purposeful, and so moving into the second half of this year, that's one of the things that I want to focus on is really getting in there. By default, though, now I have so many clients in those areas that I am anyway. So it's one of the, like, this all started probably about a year ago with my first really large client, and the homes that I took her to look at, because she was a very intense client. I love her to death, we're good friends, but she was intense, so we looked at a lot of houses. But because of that, it's cool to see now, a year later, as something you've been working on for so long, and now people call me up, oh yeah, I know the house, I've been in that house, I know the neighborhoods, I know, knowing the history on it. So it kind of builds over time, I guess, but yes, I should be more focused on it, but it is working on it.
So this is real time intensive rather than dollar intensive, because I know a lot of young agents getting, not young necessarily in age, but agents coming new to the business, their funds are limited, and in the beginning with the open houses, that's one of the things that doesn't cost a lot of money to do.
It doesn't, and honestly, I like it because I'm getting out there to meet new people. It really, if I don't do an open house on the weekends, I kind of feel like I missed my whole 5 new leads for the week that are my leads, so.
Well, hold on, so that's actually a really interesting thing. So you're going to each open house expecting to get 5 new leads?
Well, yeah, I usually get about 5.
You hear the way that was said, but.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't like, I got my toes crossed too, then we have 5, I mean, that's.
No, and I think we talked about, when people come in the house, I don't question whether or not they're going to fill out the form. I know they're gonna fill out the form, and I know I'm gonna stay in touch with them. It doesn't mean that you don't connect with everybody. I mean, you just don't. So, you do what you do, and then.
What gave you that confidence?
Consistency in doing it. And Mark saying that nobody else does this way. I don't know.
But I think, what I've seen give people the most confidence is just activity. Activity leads to confidence. Confidence is the results.
Same with the Craigslist. I mean, it's something that you're focused on, that you're doing, and when you see the results from it. But if you just kind of did it, and then you kind of did something else, and you kind of did something else, then you're not gonna. It's hard to track all of that too. So really honing in and focusing. Like, you can't feel like you're missing. Sometimes I think you feel like you're missing out. Like, you hear somebody else's great story, and you're like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I should be doing that. And then you have to do what you're comfortable with and what you know the most about. So and you've got to be passionate about it. Otherwise, it's not going to interest you.
So what are you focusing on over the next 6 months, really making sure you have a powerful second half?
Definitely, like what Bob said earlier, I think I really need a clear goal. I really need to work on my big why. It's been a rough year. We've had a lot of good things happen, but a lot of things, people's financing falling apart, relationships falling apart right before closing. So being more purposeful, knowing that what is working, and keeping up with that and staying.
I want to be real clear about this, guys, because this is something I want to get across in our mid-year business planning session. So what I heard you say there is looking back on sourcing your leads, finding out where all the leads came from, and then not removing yourself from that activity, but pouring yourself more into it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the open houses might be an area that you're going to be pouring more into.
Oh yes. Yeah. I didn't get to do one last weekend, and I can't do it this weekend. We have our family reunion, and so I kind of feel lost. Like, I don't know what to. So it gets addicting. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're excited about, it becomes part of your business, and you get so excited because it's going well, and you see, you need that. I don't know. It doesn't matter what you do. You need to be happy about what you're doing, and see that turning.
So are you getting some good referrals from, even though some of those haven't matured into a sale yet?
Yes.
But that relationship
My
is
referral
developing over
business
4, 5,
has
6 months.
Gone way up, and which I'm feeling really cool. Like, that's like so cool.
So to me, that's awesome. I love hearing that. It's focused on one thing, and if you focus on one thing, it begets another. So you're focusing on that niche that you're an expert at, and then now you're getting those referrals because you're doing such a great job there, rather than trying to do everything at once.
Right. Yeah, and that lets you breathe. And since I'm newer in this, that's where I'm not constantly reaching out there for new business and saying, please work with me. to me, that's such a cool feeling. You know, and people saying they trust you for what, and they know that you're good at what you do, that's great, but that.
Follow through.
Yes, yeah.
John, a unique thing too is that Cassie is getting referral leads from people that they haven't even closed business with her yet, but that she's working with.
And that's what I was referring to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That your relationship that you're building with, and they haven't even bought anything with
But
you.
yet, she's getting
That's
referrals
right.
from those people.
That's exactly right.
And that's just, that's not, it's just